Hello, I'm old Mr. Kent, and I'm out on my morning e-trike ride. I'm 82 years old, and we're going to start from my son's yard today. And if you don't know, I live here. And we had some excitement last night, so I thought I'd show you some of the skid marks and explain about that, just because you might be interested in hearing what happened. And it's about 1 o'clock in the morning, and my son, who is he's a very light sleeper. He heard some kind of a crash, and I just got to get over all the ruts here. Get up close. I used to ride this road a lot on my e-trike ride, but I don't anymore because of the ruts that are here. Okay, let's put the lock right there. This road right here is private property, and that's a farmer's field over there. And so there shouldn't be anybody driving on that road. Well, last night about 1 o'clock in the morning, my son heard this crash, and so he got up and looked, and four teenagers, I guess it was, in a pickup truck, had come down this road super fast. And when they got to the end, they apparently didn't know what to do. And so over here, you can see their skid marks where they tried to turn, but they were going way too fast. And so there's the part where they ended up going into the canal. And so we'll go a little further up here. And there's where they came along like that, and then you can see where they skidded down further into it. And so, and by the way, right now they're draining the canal because it was a lot more full last night. And then, as you can see here, they tried to do all kinds of things to get it out. And like there's part of the truck over there that this morning earlier, it was underwater. So they're in the process of draining the canal, I suppose, to get this stuff out. But that part right there is where the tow truck pulled them out. But my son heard the crash, and then he heard them spinning their wheels trying to get out. And then he called the sheriff, and it was just a few minutes until the sheriff, I think he said 4 sheriff's cars drove up, and then of course the ambulance came because one of them was injured, and then the tow truck came, but anyway, so they gave a breathalyzer test to the driver, and of course he could hardly stand up because he was so drunk. So anyway, that was the excitement that we had here where I live last night. Let's see if I can make a U-turn here. Yeah, that worked out okay. I think I'll go down here, and instead of going on the canal road, I'll go on this road here, which is actually the road they're supposed to be using. But of course, a lot of people come along here and make a lot of dust, and it's just the way it is. We haven't had any rain for several months. I mean, we had maybe a sprinkle here or there, or a 10-minute rain, but we haven't had anything to wet things down. So as time goes by, this dust gets deeper and deeper on the road. All right, so I just thought I would show you that, and then we'll go on my regular route, which is, if you've been following my channel, it's got dogs that bark on it and everything. So, if you remember a couple of videos back, I was going along and I couldn't remember what I wanted to say. I was trying to remember there was something else I wanted to say. And so I finally remembered what it was, because I was talking about cameras and how I had a Kodak Brownie camera, and got a lot of comments. A lot of folks had them back in those days. Well, that was, I guess you could say, a simple camera. The camera that my dad had was, I'll put a picture of that up. It was what we now call a twin lens camera. The top lens was what you looked through. What they had had a 45-degree angled mirror, and then of course the top flipped up, and so then you could look down and see what you were going to shoot at, what you were going to take a picture of. And trouble is, it was upside down because of the way it was made, but everybody was used to that. And so and then when it was time to take a picture, then the lower, when you pull the trigger, the lower mirror was exposed to the light, or the lower lens was exposed to the light, and exposed the film and took the picture. So that's the kind of camera that my dad had, and it's a twin lens camera now, they call it. Back then they just called it a camera. Well, then technology came along, and they came out with the SLR. That's called a single lens reflex camera. And so what they did was they used one lens, and then you could look through it, and it was all, you looked straight through, and it was all right side up and everything, made it nice. And then when it was time to take the picture, you click the shutter, and what would happen is when you click the shutter, the mirror that you had been using to look through disappeared and exposed the film to the light coming through the lens, and then the mirror came back up. So, and that was called a single lens, and that's what they use now. In fact, they've improved on it so much that my son-in-law has a really, really fancy one. And so, anyway, I gotta check something here. All right. Thanks for putting up with me. I'm getting so forgetful that I wanted to make sure I was getting the audio that I like to get. Right, because the camera records the audio, but it's not near as quality as my little microphone that I've got here, which records onto my cell phone. All right, now let's get going here. So that answers that question about me not remembering anything. And get that guy down in my pocket. All right. Thanks for putting up with me. So I promised you that I would tell you some stories, some details of stories of when I was in college, and so of the jobs that I had. And so let's start with oh, there's a dog I haven't seen before. Yeah, you're a good dog. Good morning. Anyway, so I got a job with the janitor on Saturday mornings, or Saturday until, as long as there was something to do. Well, then I would work with the janitor all day Saturday, and that would make $1 an hour. And and so that helped a lot. And then if you remember, my folks basically disowned me and said I have to work my way through college on my own. And so Oh, you know what? I better tell you something so you'll understand. When I went to sign up, if you heard the story, you've probably heard it before on my. If you've been following my channel, they asked me what I wanted to major in, and I had no idea what that word meant. So the lady said, "What were you good at in high school?" And I said, "Mechanical drawing." So she said, "Okay, you should be an industrial arts teacher." And then she was so sarcastic. The next thing she says, "Oh, what are you going to minor in?" And I said, "What's that mean?" She said, "What else were you good at in high school?" And I said, "PE." So anyway, that's how ignorant I was. So then I guess I can't remember. That must have been the person that signed me up for courses. And so I ended up taking 12 hours that first quarter. And this was during the time my parents were paying. And so I was, my roommate was the guy that went to high school with me. And so we were in our dorm room, and he was studying away, and I finished all my studies, and I had my ukulele, so I laid on the bed, put my feet up against the wall, and started strumming the ukulele, and he got a little annoyed at me, and he says, "Don't you have anything to study?" And I never will forget. I said, "Nope, got all my work done." And he asked me, he says, "How many hours are you taking?" I said, "I don't know," because at that point I didn't know. So he looked at my courses, and he said, "You're only taking 12 hours. And I said, "And so, because I thought you go to college for 4 years and you graduate and it's over." I'm not kidding you. I was pretty ignorant. So he says, "You have to take 16 hours every quarter, or at the end of 4 years, you won't have enough hours to graduate." Oh, I didn't know that. And so what happened was then is after that first year when I went to California and bought the motorcycle and got in trouble with my parents, then at the end of the next year, I was working for the janitor. And so, he said, "Are you going to be here?" Or I don't remember how it worked. But anyway, so the week or two between quarters, week and a half, whatever it was, I worked with the janitor. And I made pretty good money working for the janitor when he had something to do. And that wasn't always the case, because I remember between summer and fall quarters, I was helping a friend of mine rebuild his house, which had burnt down, or partially burnt down. And so I was working for him. Anyway, so I worked for the janitor on Saturdays and over between quarters. Now, one day, and by the way, there was this other kid. I don't remember, it might have been between quarters or just on Saturday, but we had to clean a floor in a classroom, and we had to use I'll just stop and point it out. We had to use these scrubbers that had big round disc like this, and they were heavy, and then you plug them in somewhere, and then you go across the floor. You learn how to use it, and you polish the floor or clean it, whatever we were doing. Well, so as usual, I was on my hands and knees in the corner getting the parts that the scrubber didn't get. So I'm scrubbing by hand, and he runs it across the room and then pulls the plug out. Okay, so then he has to put the plug in on the other side of the room, and I'm on my hands and knees in the corner, and he didn't think about turning the machine off before plugging it in. So the machine was sitting there. He plugged it in, and that handle came swinging around and got me in the back. I'm not kidding you. I fell down. Ooh, that hurt. I wasn't too happy with that kid, and I shouldn't call him names or anything. But anyway, so there was that. And then it was a Saturday, and I was helping the janitor. And I've told this story before. and we were cleaning out this storage room, and there was this this big mirror with a great big huge heavy wooden frame, and he said, we're just going to throw that away because it was made so long ago that they painted the backside of it with some kind of silver paint, and some of that was missing. Now I've got a picture of it because I kept it, okay? And so I asked him, well, can I have it? You know, because I couldn't see throwing it away. And so he let me have it. And in the picture, I'll try to get a picture of it, of what year it was made. It was like 1915 or something like that. Anyway, and so he said, yeah, well, it was a nice sunshiny Saturday day, and we finished our job. And so I was walking home with it, and I had to go past the what they call Old Main, and I went past that, and then the next section I was going across in front of the women's dormitory, which was like 6 stories high, and each room had a balcony that faced the street, and so they could always come out on the balcony, and you know, it was pretty fancy actually. And so I was walking along, and I noticed that if I held the mirror just right, I could blind drivers coming along on the street because the sun was reflecting off of it. And so I thought, oh, okay, this will be kind of fun. So as I was just slowly meandering along, I set it so that it would reflect the sun up to the women's dormitory. And I started just flashing one room, and then the next, and then the next. By the time I got past the women's dormitory, I don't know how many, but there had to be dozens, or you know, a dozen and a half. I don't know. Anyway, there was a whole bunch of girls standing out on the balcony, and I'm sure they were calling me names because in their room, the light shined in their room, and then of course they had to figure out what was causing that big bright light. So anyway, that was one of the fun things of working for the janitor. And let me see here, how much time? Okay, so I think probably that's going to be a long enough video for today. The next video, I'll go through some of the stories of when I was working, going to college, and I was working on the in the dish room in the cafeteria, and we had a lot of fun there. So in the meantime, I just want to say thank you for watching my video, and God bless.